Welcome to Heavy Networking from the Packet Pushers. On today's episode, the Security Operations Center, or SOC. Now, when I think of a SOC, I picture kind of like a miniature version of NASA's mission control. So lots of computers, lots of people, some big boards with lines and arrows and telemetry scrolling across the screens. I also think of SOCs as requiring a lot of gear, a lot of staff, and a lot of resources to be effective. But maybe those perceptions are not accurate. So on today's show, we're going to talk with sponsor Fortinet about its approach to the Security Operations Center, including Fortinet's three-tiered framework that aims to make a SOC accessible to more organizations, how those tiers are delivered, and more. I'm Drew Conry Murray with my host, Ethan Banks. Our guest is Max Zeumer, Director of Products for SOC Platforms at Fortinet. And if you thought a SOC was out of your reach, stick around and see if Max and Fortinet can change your mind. Max, welcome to the podcast. And just to set some groundwork, could we kind of walk through the key functions of a security operations center or SOC, just so we're working from a common definition?
Thanks, Drew, and thanks, Ethan. Really excited to be here because we're really about to dive into what's been the heart of my career, and that's the SOC, or Security Operations Center. Now, when people hear the term SOC, they really tend to think about, maybe more of a Hollywood style room. You have the giant dashboards and analysts with the hoodies maybe and frantically responding to cyber attacks. And that's fun to watch in the movies, but in reality, a SOC is really practical and essential. At its core, it has one mission, and that's to continuously protect your business from threats and these bad actors. And it starts with a few core foundations and functions. First, you want to have constant monitoring. A SOC needs to watch everything 24/7, networks, endpoints, users, cloud applications, even physical devices and factories or branch locations for that matter.
Hmm.
And then your threat actors, unlike many of us, they don't work a 9 to 5. So if you're only monitoring during business hours, you've sort of left the window wide open for them to walk right in. And the second component is having that detection and triage. The SOC takes an overwhelming flood of alerts from your firewalls, those endpoint tools, cloud logs, you name it. And it really separates signals and alerts from, the noise. About 98% of alerts can be false positive or low priority noise for that matter. So if a SOC analyst can't really sift through that mountain fast enough, that's where the threats get missed. And then the third component, investigation response. Once a real threat is found, what do? You have to move fast. And this means understanding exactly what happened, how far it spread, what systems or assets may have been impacted, and then containing and remediating before that attacker does a lot more damage. And finally, you always need to continuously improve. What we often call threat hunting or posture management. A good SOC isn't just reacting to yesterday's attack. They're really proactively looking for patterns, gaps, weaknesses, spots, and using threat intelligence to help them stay ahead of these different emerging techniques. And you can think of a SOC like an immune system. If monitoring is the sensors, detecting a fever, detection is the immune system, identifying which virus it caused. Response is that body fighting back, and improving is really building antibodies so you can prevent it from happening again. Without all four working together, you're really consistently fighting fires instead of building resilience.
Max, how much is of what you just described is what a person is doing versus what software is doing in perhaps an automated or autopilot kind of way?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. It's really the combination between people, processes, and technologies. If you have a full-blown SOC that is 24/7, you're going to require a sizable amount of SOC analysts to cover shifts every 8 to 9 hours. And so there's that component, but then you have your defined processes. How do I handle, a particular investigation? How can I do that quickly? And that's where the technology comes in. And so those kind of three components together, I would say, can be pretty evenly split. Although the goal with the modern SOC is to try to leverage automation or AI as much as possible. So us as the human side stay in the loop, but can focus more on what matters and not be bogged down.
So, how would you say a SOC fits into sort of a broader cybersecurity or risk management strategy, or another way, like what value is it providing to the organization?
That's a great question because the way I look at it is a SOC. It's no longer an IT function. It's really your business enabler. You know, the SOC is really where your cybersecurity meets your business continuity and the brand trust you might have. And
Hmm.
the reality, at least I've seen, is that every company today, is a digital company. You could be a bank, you could be a manufacturer, a retailer. You have digital systems and they're directly tied to your revenue and your reputation. So if let's say a ransomware attack occurs and it takes down a hospital or patient scheduling system or an attack shuts down a manufacturer production line, that's not just some technical issues. It's loss in revenue, regulatory fines. It's damaged in the trust that you've probably taken years and years to build with your customer base. So the SOC is really the place where you manage the risk in real time. It gives you and your executives the confidence so you can pursue whatever initiatives you might have, especially digitally, moving across all these different workloads, be it, opening new customer applications, rolling out all of these new AI products that we're seeing in the market. You need to have a team and a set of processes that are really standing guard to protect all of those components. And I really say a SOC's value is measured not in how many attacks it stops, but how invisible it makes the attacks to the business. So when your board doesn't hear about an incident, because it was detected, it was contained, and it was resolved before it ever even impacted your operations. That's when your SOC's doing your job. Hopefully
I
that
think
gives
so. That's like, it's an interesting way to put it, that it's part of like sort of a business continuity or business resilience program, because you're right that if a security program is effective, business leaders aren't hearing about it, which could perversely have the wrong outcomes where, like, well, we don't have to spend as much on security because things are fine.
Well, Max, then what organizations actually need this kind of functionality? I've worked for a lot of different shops over the years, government, higher ed, financial, and so on. A lot of them had NOCs. Not everybody had a SOC. Maybe there was a security team, but I mean, a dedicated SOC, even in those environments, wasn't always present. So who's in 2025? Who's the right fit?
I mean, that's one of the big myths that I love to bust, right? Because people typically assume I have to be a massive enterprise with thousands and thousands of employees
Mhm.
to need a SOC, and that's not necessarily true anymore. Because attackers, they don't really care how big you are, depending who the attacker might be. In fact, I mean, we all know they tend to go after, your small, mid-sized businesses or even, your mid-sized enterprises because they're aware those companies have fewer resources. They have more gaps that it can be exploited. And when those functions work well together, your SOC isn't just defending your business, it's protecting that trust, the trust that you have with your customers and even your own employees. So when we kind of think back on when do I need a SOC or how do I know it's time for a SOC, you really have to go back to that earlier comment on, hey, how bad and important is it to our organization to ensure that we stay protected, we retain our reputation? And, I think that there's a variety of ways that you can do it. One, if you are a lean team and you're wearing multiple hats, that's where you can do some co-manage options in which you can start building and scaling by foundation and gaining some support through a third party. If you are a large organization, I mean, you are going to be focused on how can I have this enterprise-wide efficiency, and how can we focus and hone in on resilience. And so I think that there's always a good time to start, and that's really today when it comes to your priorities.
Does you talked about lean organizations? I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that, where they may be wearing multiple hats. Is there like some kind of, do I need a particular level of operational maturity to start like building toward a SOC, or how would I even think about, sort of getting the foundations for that? Like, can I evolve into a SOC?
So most teams, they're not going to wake up one day and have a SOC, right? Typically, they grow into it. They start with their network operations. They're going to be monitoring, the performance. They're going to be fine-tuning firewall rules, and changing windows. And slowly, they're going to start adding some security components, maybe for email or even, a SIM, right?
Mhm.
To kind of centralize some of that flexibility. But most teams really get stuck between SecOps and the SOC, right? You've got these ingredients, but not the kitchen.
So you just said something there that I think is really interesting. You have the ingredients maybe, but not the kitchen. So by ingredients, like I got some firewalls, I got some logs, I got some EDR. Maybe I have a SIM, maybe I don't. And I've got a ticketing system. So those are the ingredients. What is the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, so the kitchen's where you have everything come together, right? First, let's step back and highlight this one problem, and this kind of will help address that comment and bring us to this point. Ultimately, why so many modern SOC projects stall, right? We've seen all these changes happen across the threat landscape. The perimeter's gone. You've got SaaS, cloud, remote workers, IT, OT. Your attack surface is really broad and dynamic, where you constantly have to monitor it. We see these attackers, they're becoming stealthy, surgical, and sophisticated. Meanwhile, you got to now realize, hey, how can I keep up with all these alerts coming in while I'm starting to kind of grow and mature my organization? So that's that gray zone that we're talking about, or the SOC gray zone, where an organization gets stuck between reactive security operations, and a truly mature SOC. And so those tools, those components, often they get stuck with investigations for hours and having these alerts slip through. And I've personally seen it, where nobody has identified kind of until an attack until weeks later, and because they
Mhm.
missed logs. So today, when you have some proper solutions to kind of start at that foundation, you want to take a look at, well, do we have after hours coverage as soon as I leave the office? If I'm that lean team, do we have coverage on the weekends, holidays? And this is really kind of that foundation where you can start thinking, oh, all right, well, no, we don't have coverage. So let's get that monitoring set up. How can we do that?
So Max, okay, you mentioned getting stuck in that sort of security operations gray zone. Um, Fortinet's put together essentially like a tiered approach to a SOC. So can you talk about this approach and sort of break it down into the options for customers to help them like evolve out of that gray zone?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's absolutely a must. When we talk to customers, we've seen that spectrum where some, have no SOC at all, and others are just starting their journey. Of course, we have the mature security teams that they're drowning in complexity. And we decided to build this framework to meet our customers wherever they're at, regardless of the size of their team, how big their organization is. And this is what we call the SOC platform. A big part of our strategy was identifying how to ensure that no organization goes without the capabilities required, at least the foundational all the way to advanced, to adequately protect themselves.
Mhm.
Now, every team and organization is a bit different. So we start the foundation typically with our first tier, our SOC as a service, or Security Operations Center as a service. And we often see many of our customers that don't have any security team at all. Maybe they're running IT and doing some security, or they just don't have the expertise. There's lots of barriers to entry for them. And so we've put together essentially for organizations that don't have the people, they don't have the processes to run the SOCs themselves. We have a Fortinet team of experts that essentially becomes an extension of those customers' teams. So the way it works is we're monitoring the environment 24/7. We're looking for any sort of suspicious activity or anomalies based off the alerts generated from their firewall devices and of course other devices as well. Um, and as we sift through those logs, once we identify something, right, we quickly notify the customer. And we do this in a few different ways, which is pretty cool. And I'll explain kind of how this helps customers start maturing and growing. And so we notify them with in as little as 15 minutes with exactly what happened, why it happened, the steps that they can take to remediate the threat. And this is done in three ways: email, phone, and our cloud-based portal. This
Mhm.
cloud-based portal is great because it gives these customers full service visibility. So if I'm new to security, or I've just been overloaded and I need to offload, I can go into this portal. I can understand every single alert that's been escalated because our experts are only notifying you when it's a real threat or it needs your attention. And I can understand the steps that I need to take to remediate it. But let's say I need more information. I need additional context or support because I don't have the skills around security. Well, you can communicate with our experts in real time, and they'll even sit down with you every quarter and walk through every incident that's been escalated, its life cycle, identify ways for you to harden and strengthen your overall security operations. And what I love about this is that we're using all the same technologies to monitor your environment, filter out the noise, and escalate those real threats that our entire SOC platform is made of. So nobody knows it better than us. And this helps close that gap. We often see customers use this as their first step into security operations, where, okay, I'm just going to focus on response. I'm going to let Fortinet cover, give me that instant air support. And then they begin learning how to deal with these threats more and more because they always have us there as their partner. And they can set it and sort of forget it or do a more co-managed model, but that's the foundational tier.
Okay, so this is essentially SOC as a service or a managed SOC offering.
Correct.
Okay. Now, does it matter what, security controls I have in place? Do I have to be on Fortinet firewalls, Fortinet EDR to use this, or can I send you, whatever info I've got up into this cloud SOC?
So the idea of this is to get you set up as quickly as possible. The foundation would be around the Fortinet firewall, but we have expanded and are expanding the service to incorporate third-party options. So that's not going to be as big of an issue. But we wanted to initially at least help our customers consolidate. And it's not just when it comes to product, but also with services. And so you can get set up first on your firewall or for the SASE, for us EDR, XDR, and quite a wide variety of different logging and detection sources. And what's even better is that it integrates with other managed services. So for instance, you might be wondering or thinking, "Hey, I'm still super lean. I'm just a network admin and I'm running all of this myself."
Mhm.
I don't want to get that call from the SOC team at 2 a.m. with a mild or mild severity alert, um, and then have to remediate it. Well, we have services like our managed FortiGate service, which directly integrates not only with that cloud-based portal, but also those teams are next to each other. And across the globe, they're communicating and physically located. throughout every major continent. And so what they're able to do is, oh, SOCs as a service detected this unusual spike in network traffic. They'll notify the managed FortiGate team, share all the information, and that team will then take care of the configurations, the fine tuning. So I don't got to get out of bed in the middle of the night since I'm just that one person team. And so there's quite a variety of ways that you can leverage it. It's really us coming to our customers and saying, we will meet you and provide what you need and when you need it in a modular capacity, whether it's through the services route or products route or a combination. We even see customers leverage SOC as a service, for instance, as a way to gain some breathing room. It's not just the small mid-sized enterprise teams and under that we've seen enterprise organizations leverage it so they can just offload all of those alerts, offload
Mhm.
time it takes to sift through those investigations and monitoring, and then focus on potentially deploying a SIM or a SOAR or a more comprehensive project. And now that gives them the breathing room to do so.
Okay, so the managed SOC offering that we're talking about here isn't just one thing. There's a bunch of different modules potentially that could either be connected to it or plugged into it, it sounds like.
Absolutely. So the way that it works is the foundation is monitoring your FortiGates, right?
Yep.
Then you can build on those logging sources and have those monitored, whether it's EDR, whether it's SASE, and so on and so forth. And the same goes with other services.
Okay, and you're also something else that I wanted to make sure came through on this. It's not just for like I have a lean team or I'm not that experienced with security, so I want some, sort of handholding. If I've got an extensive security team, I can still get value from a managed SOC service.
Yeah, absolutely. We were working with one of our partners. I won't say who, but what they were doing is essentially looking to migrate their entire platform and offer more comprehensive services. But the challenge they ran into is that even with the 18 analysts that they had, they were so bogged down with the existing configurations of their setup that
Mm,
they use SOC as a service to give them that breathing room and air support, taking away the typical processes and tasks that they get bogged down with so they could focus on deploying our SOC platform and migrating to that. So it became an enabler for them where, hey, I can get that breathing room, I can focus on these other projects because I offloaded honestly the stuff that a lot of folks don't want to do.
mhm.
So okay, so I can start with this offering. I got managed SOC as a service. This is one of the ways that Fortinet can deliver me a security operations center with this offering, this managed SOC as a service offering. But there's other ways you guys do SOC as well. There's another tier here, a turnkey SOC. So how is turnkey different from a managed SOC? Because in my brain I'm like, are those the same thing? They're not the same thing, right, Max?
No, they're not the same, but they're closely related. I mean, first, here's the difference. With SOC as a service, that tier, that foundational tier, that's ultimately you offloading to our Fortinet experts, right? We're doing all the monitoring, all the investigation. We're taking care of that process. We have the technologies in place. We have the processes and people all ready. Now, I might want to take additional ownership or I need to do it myself, right? Bring security operations, bring the SOC more in-house. Here's the problem. I still might be a lean team. I don't have time to build out or first deal with a heavy lift deployment, build out all the use cases, the configurations, maintain those configurations, fine tune them, add new ones, and let alone to even think about building out a playbook, right? And so we have in our turnkey SOC offering, it's actually powered by FortiAnalyzer. And interestingly enough, again, remember when I was talking about SOC as a service, I mentioned that we use all of our technologies within our SOC platform. Well, FortiAnalyzer is one of those. So this becomes a very natural progression for customers to use in tandem with SOC as a service if they, still need that after hours coverage, but they need to take more ownership and they're going to start doing more themselves, or somebody can start right at this foundation. And to explain a little bit behind kind of how it works and what it consists of, and what makes it different. Well, over the past few years, we've significantly evolved for what's FortiAnalyzer, where many knew it as maybe a logging analytics tool, especially for network operations, and it's evolved into security operations a very long way, where it's not some log collector and analytics tool. And this is a huge advantage for those teams that, hey, I'm focused on, I want to get as much value out of my NetOps or my NOC as I do with my SOC. It provides this nice bridge because I can't get bogged down. I need something ready to go with rapid deployment that integrates analytics, automation, and AI into the single platform. And it comes as our unified data lake for what we call the Fortinet Security Fabric, which essentially is just our overall platform. So what that means is it's consolidating all your data sets. It's designed to simplify your log management at its foundation. Same thing with reporting. And it unifies all those alerts that are coming in from your firewalls, for instance, or different applications. And it will unify the configurations, your events, your alerts.
Can it correlate? It correlates events across all of those different data sets that are coming in?
Yeah, so it's going to pull all of that information into a single source of truth as the data lake of the security fabric. And it is a huge part of our strategy is to, again, give everybody the foundational tools they need for a SOC, right? So I need to know that all my data is in one place. I need to have that single source of truth. And then I also need to be able to have true visibility where I can see what's going on, right? What potential threats might be coming up, and anything that may be correlated with those alerts. And in addition to that, a huge part of our strategy is to simplify this for somebody, right? I was mentioning I don't have the time to build things out, and so we have made it really intuitive where there's not this huge learning curve. I can jump right in, have a nice view of a SOC dashboard, email, IoT, and so many other dashboards. And it includes these native threat topologies, right? So we leverage something called FortiGuard Labs Threat Intelligence, as well as other threat intelligence vendors you may subscribe to. And what's unique about this is it's baked into the platform. So the customer basically gets all of the latest outbreak alerts. I don't need to worry also about building out event handlers or really the detection rules for those specific outbreaks, as well as the reporting to help me with them. If an emerging threat, comes up, we automatically notify the customer and then download these detection content packs. And we take it a step further by adding what we call built-in SOC automation. And this is what enables XDR, SIM, SOAR capabilities, where you're not going to spend days, months, even years fine tuning, right? You don't have to worry about it. And we, as our experts, are constantly fine tuning this because we provide pre built content packs, right? This is going to include all your automation, playbooks, detection rules, advanced correlation rules, connectors, log parsers, and they're updated every single month. And so this is delivering customers a really lightweight deployment, whether it's across appliance, VM, or cloud, to really detect, have that ability to be able to respond faster and scale horizontally without that heavy lift.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is the turnkey SOC option, and with that, I'm getting uh, FortiAnalyzer. I'm getting threat feeds from FortiGuard Labs. I'm getting sort of pre-built detection rules, correlation rules, some fine tuning. You said these content packs, ready playbooks. Are there other components of this turnkey SOC? Do I get SIEM? Do I get SOAR? What else comes with it?
Yeah, I mean, so when it comes to the turnkey SOC, right, it's all about making this as broad and ready to use as possible because this is and meant to enable those resource constraint teams to really deploy the security operations center without building it from scratch, right?
Mhm.
So one, we know that everything's unified, whether it's your visibility, but so is your automation. You have AI assistance also baked into the user experience. And it's going to combine all of your telemetry, all that threat intelligence, and layer orchestration on top of that. XDR, SIM, and SOAR like capabilities, right? So this
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're going to have that full blown SOAR, the full blown SIM. It's just going to essentially give you a very modular approach where you get each component that you need to start your foundation, which is ideal for those, again, resource constraint teams or IT slash security teams that are looking to really consolidate and scale.
Okay, so the FortiAnalyzer is kind of like that foundation for a data lake for all of the logs and telemetry that I'm collecting. And FortiAnalyzer is helping me build that data lake and doing some essential analysis on top of that for me to have like kind of a dashboard experience to see what's happening in my environment.
Yes, I mean, so that's the first component to it, and then it's going to start it layers on, some native threat intelligence, the SOC automation, which again consists of those SIMs or XDR capabilities, and then combines AI to help you investigate faster and really simplify your overall operations.
Okay. And are is Fortinet sort of positioning this turnkey approach as like on-prem, or can I also get this as a service or in the cloud? How does that work?
Yeah, so we offer really flexible deployment options, whether it's appliance, VM, cloud, hardware as a service. We offer it across the board, regardless of the form factor.
Okay.
And a lot of this is included already within that baseline adoption or that baseline purchase.
So what's different about the advanced security operations center versus the other two models that we just talked about, Max?
I mean, great question. So when we look at the advanced SOC, the first thing that comes to mind for our customers and the way we guide them is what's your focus right now? And typically what we see is that they want to achieve enterprise-wide efficiency, automate as much as possible from incident management to threat response, and this is designed for and built for those mature teams, right? Where I have at least 5 dedicated SOC analysts at a minimum, because it's
Okay.
going to be a little bit heavier lift, right?
A 5 analyst
So
minimum on the advanced SOC.
so it's going to be you're expecting there's 5 people there because there's with what this platform is, you're going to need at least 5 people to be able to take advantage of what the platform offers.
I mean, we've seen organizations deploy our advanced SOC with 3 people, right? But typically on average, we're seeing around 4 to 5 analysts that will adopt our advanced SOC platform, which includes SIM and SOAR, full blown.
Okay.
So that's why we typically encourage, hey, make sure you have defined processes, a mature security stack, a plan in place, because this is really designed for you to combined telemetry across your enterprise. Again, have really any threat intelligence you'd like integrated, and very scalable and customizable orchestration and automation to drive your SOC maturity and really kind of scale your operations so you can become more proactive.
Okay, so advanced SOC, you want to have some maturity in your operations. You want to have some dedicated SOC analysts on hand. I'm getting, in terms of the package here, SIEM and SOAR, in addition to, I think, the other things that we talked about. Is there a particular like industry size or type or risk profile that you see using advanced SOC, or is it more about we just know we have the team and the resources for this?
This is ideal for really the larger enterprises, your MSSPs, your service providers, those who need massive scale and deep customization.
So you've positioned this as kind of a framework. Or is Fortinet sort of anticipating the customers will kind of advance through these? Like I'll go from the SOC as a service through to advanced someday?
I mean, that's a great question. Ultimately, we see many of our customers start their journey, within network operations, and then land and expand to security operations, right? Where they start getting the increasing pressure, or maybe an attack triggered it, and they certainly have the variety of options to kind of scale upwards, right? From SOCs to service or for to analyzer, depending on their requirements. But this framework that we've designed, you can step right in, even if you are focused on maybe you have a SIM already. You don't have to follow it from bottom to top or top to bottom. It's really getting what you need and when you need it, and being able to add that on in a more modular capacity, and having that delivered in the easiest ways possible. And look, I know tons of organizations, especially vendors, say, hey, don't worry about it. We're making it as easy as possible. But for us, a core part of our strategy is always our customer's voice, and the feedback that we've received in order to kind of fine tune and help deliver the SOC platform, regardless of where you might be coming or starting the process from, is that, hey, we need to ensure that we have broad coverage. So, and we need to ensure that, we're able to scale and customize orchestration and automation, and have really a lot of adaptability. And so we'll see people kind of jump right in and lean into the SOC platform for those purposes, even if they're on the more advanced side and they already have a SIM, because they don't have an interconnected platform at that point that is working together, and not only speaking your platform speaking across those products that create it, but also being able to orchestrate and automate across that entire platform is really, really key. So to answer your question, at the end of the day, it depends on kind of your unique needs. If I'm a lean team and I want to get started, sure, follow that pathway. Maybe I have cyber insurance requirements and I need to have SOCs to service, and I also need to take more ownership for my for compliance. So then I'll go with the turnkey SOC because I don't have those resources. If I'm coming in with a SIM, I might adopt the SOAR and leverage, capabilities of the turnkey SOC to natively manage Fortinet products. I mean, there's so many varieties and mixes and matches you can do. It depends just really on your needs.
So we've gone almost the whole conversation without really talking about AI. So I feel like we're contractually obligated to mention AI here. So is there an AI component to any of these services? And if so, how is Fortinet using AI to help folks run a SOC?
Okay, well, AI is always a topic, and I've been working with it for 8 years, and I can tell you with confidence that it is actually woven throughout our entire platform. But let me demystify this a little bit. All right, as Fortinet, we use AI in three primary ways. First, we have AI, FortiAI Protect. And this really is where AI is going to help enhance our defenses, like surfacing zero-day threats or identifying malicious patterns a human might miss. And it uses our threat intelligence from FortiGuard Labs, which consists of hundreds and hundreds of really, really smart data scientists, threat researchers, that have been using machine learning for over 15 years to analyze billions of samples.
Mm.
Second component is FortiAI Assist, and I want you to think of this, really kind of a bit more than just some chat bot for a SOC analyst. This really is native into our platform, and it leverages our platform-wide telemetry, natively integrated to the SOC solution. So we can, using natural language, talk to text, queries data, you can generate visualizations, or hey, I might, be typing one thing out and addressing one investigation, and I can have it bring me to a completely different dashboard, for instance. And if I'm a junior analyst, I can even ask it to say, show me all the endpoints communicating with suspicious IPs, and execute a quarantine. And it will do that for you. And we've expanded it to, of course, include agentic AI components, which will be coming out in the near future. The third element to Fortinet's AI is what we call FortiAI Secure. And this is all about protecting AI itself. As organizations, they build their own AI applications like chatbots or LLM-based tools. We really help secure those models against prompt injection, data poisoning, and other emerging threats. And here's why it matters in the SOC, is because time is everything. So when our internal SOC deployed FortiAI Assist, guess what? Even they saw massive drops in their mean time to detect, to under a minute, because they were able to have that air support where they focused on more complex tasks. Because remember, AI, it's not replacing humans; it's really freeing them up so they can focus on high value tasks, while they're performing and handling more important components.
So Max, if folks are interested in either augmenting or starting their SOC journey with Fortinet, where would you send them to get more details?
I would recommend two places. First, I would head straight to the Fortinet.com SOC Platform solution page, which will break down all of these different components, and you can actually do some self-guided demos and play around with each component. Number two, if you want the deep dive, if you want to see our vision and strategy for SOC, demos of agentic AI, all the way to every component we've discussed today, please head to our Security Operations Summit, which is now available on demand. And there you can watch each session, dive into the turnkey SOC, dive into the advanced SOC, and so much more. With that said, I mean, thank you so much for having me. It's really been a pleasure to share this journey, and I really hope it sparks some ideas for how listeners can take their SOC to the next level wherever they are at today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Max, for being here. This was a good conversation, and I think hopefully you've tweaked some people's interest in thinking, yeah, I could actually have a SOC. So thank you, Max, again for being here, and thanks to Fortinet for being a longtime sponsor of Packet Pushers. And if you decide that you want to have a conversation with Fortinet about your SOC options, we'd be delighted if you'd mention that Packet Pushers helped prompt your engagement. Speaking of Packet Pushers, we've created a whole universe of free, ungated technical content for your professional development that includes more than a dozen podcasts on networking, security, cloud, IT strategy, and more. There's a YouTube channel, a community Slack channel where you can chat with other network engineers, ask questions, get job referrals, and swap memes. It's all at packetpushers.net. And last but not least, remember that too much networking would never be enough.